The starship Aurora's Hope drifted through the quiet dark of the frontier, its long silver hull glowing softly under distant suns. It was supposed to be a simple survey mission: check the asteroid fields, map strange energy readings, and head back to the Alliance station with nothing more exciting than a few scans and mineral samples. That was what everyone expected. But on the fourth day of their route, the scanners detected something strange, something big, something not moving, a derelict vessel. At first, the crew thought it was only another abandoned mining ship. There were many old wrecks in the frontier left behind by explorers who had pushed too far into dangerous space. But as the ship grew closer, the crew began to feel uneasy. This was not an old mining ship. This was something else, sleek, dark, and carved with markings that shimmered faintly like liquid metal. It was an Avorix vessel, one of the most advanced species in the Alliance. The Avorix never lost ships. Their technology was famous for being nearly impossible to damage, and yet this one floated dead and broken. Captain Rowe, a calm but serious Loravan, stood at the front of the bridge with his insect-like eyes narrowed. "This ship did not die of age," he said quietly. "Look at the hull." Cracks ran across the vessel like claw marks, long, deep, and burned at the edges. Some sections looked almost melted. Something inside the ship had escaped, something powerful. A hush fell over the Aurora's Hope. The crew exchanged nervous looks. Even the bravest among them felt a chill, except for one person. At the back of the bridge, leaning forward with wide eyes, stood Mira Lane, the youngest member of the crew, a human xenobiology intern barely out of training. She wore a simple research uniform, her brown hair tied messily into a loose ponytail. Her excitement had no place on that tense bridge, yet her eyes sparkled. "A damaged Avorix ship," she whispered to herself. "There must be something incredible inside." The crew docked carefully, cutting through sealed doors and scorched corridors. Mira walked behind the security team, notebook in hand, ready to record every detail. Even as the others moved with weapons raised, she moved with curiosity instead of fear. The inside of the vessel was worse than expected. Walls melted into slag, floors torn open, rooms twisted like someone had folded them. There was no sign of the crew, not a single body, not a drop of blood. It was as if the entire ship had been emptied in an instant. "Melt patterns suggest high heat," said Chief Engineer Yulan, her metallic voice calm but uneasy. "Something extremely hot hatched or escaped or evolved." The team continued deeper. Every step echoed in the silent halls. Every shadow felt heavier. Then they reached the central chamber. The door was split open from the inside. Black scorch marks surrounded it. Inside the room, large machines were toppled. Containers lay shattered like broken glass. And in the center of the room, a large crystalline egg sat alone. It was the size of a human child, shaped like a teardrop made of volcanic glass. Bright cracks of glowing red ran across its surface. The egg pulsed with heat in slow, rhythmic waves, like breathing. Nobody dared to move closer, nobody except Mira. She stepped forward before anyone could stop her. The air grew hotter around her, but not unbearably so. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Do not approach," Captain Rowe ordered, alarmed. "That is not an ordinary creature container. That is a—" But Mira was already scanning it. Her tablet beeped as data streamed in. Her eyes widened at the readings. "It's alive," she breathed. "And it's close to hatching." A heavy silence settled around the team. Captain Rowe looked at the glowing egg with dread. "That," he said, "is a Dracon egg." The entire team froze. Everyone had heard of the Dracons, an ancient species believed to be nearly extinct. They were not classified as evil or malicious, but they were considered one of the most dangerous species ever discovered. Not because of their intentions, but because of their overwhelming natural power. Their bodies generated enough heat and energy to burn through starship steel. Their intelligence grew rapidly. Even newborns could accidentally destroy structures simply by existing. No one had ever studied a baby Dracon up close. Most records of them came from ruins and old stories, not from living contact. And now, here was an egg, unharmed, alive, and ready to break open. The security team backed away quickly. Engineer Yulin's sensors beeped loudly. "Captain, the thermal output is rising," she warned. "If that egg hatches in a closed space, the energy release could vaporize us." "We must leave it here," one of the guards said. "Seal the chamber. Let the Alliance handle it." Captain Rowe hesitated. "Protocol says we should notify the Alliance and secure the area until experts arrive." Mira turned sharply toward him. "But leaving it alone would be cruel. Look at the readings. It's distressed. The temperature spikes are irregular." The captain blinked at her. "It is a creature powerful enough to destroy half this ship by accident. It is not a pet, Mira." "I know that," she said firmly. "But everything alive starts somewhere. Even something powerful can be vulnerable when it's young." Her words struck the room like a quiet shock. No one expected bravery or foolishness from the new human intern. But there she was, standing closer to the egg than anyone dared to, speaking calmly as if addressing a scared animal. Mira crouched near the egg, ignoring the rising heat. She placed her gloved hand gently near the surface, not touching, but close enough for warmth to brush her skin. Inside, something shifted. A faint, high-pitched chirp echoed from within the glowing shell. Mira's breath caught. "It's crying," she whispered. "It's scared." Another chirp, a trembling motion. The inner light brightened. Cracks began to spread across the egg, glowing like molten rivers. The chamber temperature jumped. Alarms flashed on Mira's scanner. "It's hatching," someone shouted. "We need to leave." The guards ran for the door. Even Captain Rowe stepped back, unsure how to handle the moment. Engineer Yulin triggered thermal shields in her suit, but Mira did not run. She didn't even flinch. She simply whispered softly, "It's okay. You're not alone." The egg split open with a blinding flash. Heat burst outward, making the air shimmer. A wave of warmth hit Mira, but she stayed in place, shielding her eyes. When the glare faded, Mira slowly looked up. A small creature, only the length of her arm, lay curled where the egg once stood. It had obsidian black scales, with glowing red cracks between them, like lava under stone. Tiny wings, fragile yet sharp, folded against its sides. Two bright golden eyes blinked open, swirling with confusion and fear. The baby Dracon, the deadliest species newborn. It lifted its head, trembling. Smoke curled from its nostrils. The heat around it rose dangerously. Mira met its eyes. For a moment, the universe held still. She spoke softly. "Hi there." A soft chirp escaped the baby. The temperature spike paused. The smoke stopped. The newborn blinked again, staring at the only creature in the room who wasn't afraid of it. It leaned toward her. "Mira, do not move," Captain Rowe called out. But Mira already knew. The baby wasn't trying to attack. It was seeking comfort. The little Dracon crawled forward, clumsy and slow. The ground under it glowed faintly from the heat of its body. Mira stayed very still, letting it approach. Then the unbelievable happened. The baby curled against her leg. Everyone on the team gasped. Their suits recorded impossible readings. The newborn's heat should have burned through Mira's uniform instantly, but it didn't. The creature seemed to be controlling its temperature for her, even though it had no training. It was imprinting on her. Mira smiled softly and placed her hand gently on its back. The scales were warm, very warm, but tolerable. She stroked the creature lightly. "It's okay," she whispered again. "You're safe." The baby's golden eyes drifted half-closed. It made a soft purring sound, curling tighter around her. Captain Rose stared in disbelief. This was not supposed to happen. A Dracon hatchling bonding with a human? Impossible. Yet here it was. And Mira Lane, the young human intern who everyone believed was too curious for her own good, had just become the mother figure of the galaxy's most feared baby. The return to the Aurora's Hope was nothing like the crew expected. When they had first boarded the ruined Avarix ship, everyone had assumed the mission would involve danger, mystery, maybe even a hostile creature. But they had never imagined they would be carrying a newly hatched Dracon, one of the deadliest alien species known in the galaxy. Even stranger, they had never imagined the tiny creature would be clinging to the pant leg of a human girl as if she were its mother. Mira walked carefully, one hand hovering near the baby Dracon's back to guide it as they moved. The little creature stayed close to her, its small claws clicking softly against the metal floor, its body glowing with faint heat. Despite its name and appearance, it looked more scared than dangerous. Captain Rowe followed behind, still in shock. He constantly checked his scanner, struggling to understand how the baby wasn't melting the floor with every step. Engineer Yulan recorded thermal readings with shaky hands. The security officers walked several meters back, clearly unwilling to get any closer. Only Mira remained calm. When they reached the docking hatch, the baby Dracon chirped nervously. The dark hallway, the strange machine sounds, and the bright lights made its small body tremble. Mira kneeled down slowly. "It's okay," she whispered gently. "We're just going to a new ship. You'll be safe there." The hatchling pressed its warm head against her knee. A little puff of smoke escaped its nostrils, not as a threat, but as anxious breathing. "Is this normal?" a guard asked quietly. "No," Captain Rowe muttered. "Nothing about this is normal." The hatch opened with a soft hiss. Mira coaxed the baby forward. It stepped into the Aurora's Hope, sniffing at the cleaner air and blinking at the brighter ceiling lights. The moment they entered, alarms began to beep. Thermal anomaly detected. Unidentified energy signature. Caution, caution, caution. "Turn them off," Mira called, worried the noise might scare the baby. Yulan rushed to the controls. "Working on it!" But the baby didn't react with fear. Instead, it stayed close to Mira's side and followed her steps as she led it deeper into the ship. The rest of the crew kept their distance. Some stared with fascination, others with fear. But every time the baby looked around, its golden eyes always returned to Mira, as if she was its guide. As they walked, Mira whispered small reassurances. "Almost there. You're doing great. Just a little farther." Her voice stayed soft and steady. Finally, they reached the containment lab, one of the safest rooms on the ship, lined with cooling panels and emergency shields. Captain Rowe motioned toward the entrance. "Mira," he said carefully, "place it inside, slowly. We must ensure the ship remains safe." Mira nodded. She knelt again and gently guided the hatchling to the center of the room. It hesitated, looking up at her with a small whimpering sound. She placed her hand on its back. "It's okay. I'm right here. I won't leave you." The baby chirped softly, then curled up on the cool metal floor, letting out a contented puff of warm air. Mira backed away step by step until she exited the room. The doors slid shut. Instantly, the baby's body glowed brighter. It chirped loudly, calling for her. Mira pressed her hand to the glass wall. "I'm here," she said gently. "I haven't gone anywhere." The glow dimmed. The hatchling relaxed again. Captain Rowe sighed heavily. "I cannot believe it. It has imprinted on you exactly like some Earth animals do." Yulan raised her mechanical eyebrow plates. "And it is regulating its temperature only around her. That should be impossible." A guard stepped forward nervously. "Captain, what now?" We can't keep that thing on board. It's a hazard. We will send word to the Alliance, Ro said. They will want to study it. Mira turned quickly. Study it? You mean take it away? The captain's expression was firm. We cannot keep a creature like this. It may be calm now, but Dracons grow quickly. Soon it may produce heat powerful enough to melt half the ship. Mira shook her head. It's not dangerous. It's just scared. Scared creatures can still be deadly, Ro answered gently. You must understand that. Mira looked through the glass again. The hatchling had fallen asleep. Its small body curled tightly, its wings tucked under it like a bird resting. A faint glow pulsed with each breath. Her heart softened. It needs someone. It needs kindness. Mira, Ro said, it doesn't understand kindness. It only understands instinct. But as they watched, the baby shifted and lightly tapped the glass with its nose, looking for Mira. And she stepped closer, placing her palm where its head rested. Instinct or not, there was something real in the small creature's trust. The next few hours were filled with tension. The crew checked the ship's systems. Extra cooling units were installed around the lab. Emergency protocols were reviewed twice. Yulan even built a new thermal shield around the containment room, just in case the hatchling lost control of its heat. Meanwhile, Mira stayed where she was, speaking softly through the glass every time the baby chirped or paced in confusion. It was hungry. Mira could tell from the way it sniffed the air and licked its small, sharp teeth. But they had no idea what a baby Dracon ate. Ro's voice echoed through the lab speakers. Yulan, send the research notes. Mira read quickly. It says Dracon energy comes from mineral-rich sources, lava pools, volcanic vents, energy crystals. We don't have any of those. Yulan thought for a moment, then turned to her tools. We have plasma cells, very low-power ones used for training weapons. Perhaps the baby could absorb them. Captain Ro nodded. It is worth trying. But do not enter the room, Mira. We do not know how it reacts to food. Mira agreed, though she didn't like the idea of leaving the baby alone too long. Yulan prepared a small heat-proof container with a glowing plasma cell. When she placed it inside the chamber, the baby sniffed, chirped excitedly, and quickly swallowed the cell whole. The cell dissolved in a warm flash inside its throat. The baby let out a happy, rumbling sound. Mira laughed softly. It likes it. Yulan blinked in surprise. It purifies the energy instantly. This creature is remarkable. With its hunger satisfied, the baby settled down once more. Mira sat beside the glass, comforted that it was calm again. She watched the hatchling curl its tail around itself. Something warmed inside her heart. She didn't know why she felt such a connection to the newborn, but she did. Maybe it was its vulnerability, maybe it was its trust, or maybe it was simply because Mira had always felt a little out of place, too curious, too compassionate, too bold for her own good. And now, this tiny creature seemed to understand her more than most people did. Hours later, a message arrived from the Alliance station. Captain Ro opened the communication channel, and the voice of Admiral Saren filled the room. A deep, commanding voice. Captain Ro, we received your report. You have a live Dracon hatchling aboard? Ro replied, Yes, Admiral. It has imprinted on our human intern, Mira Lane. There was a long silence. Then the Admiral spoke again. Prepare to transport it here. We will contain it. Mira stepped forward. Admiral, please. Be careful. It's not dangerous. It's just a baby. The Dracons are not pets, Miss Lane, the Admiral said firmly. They are classified as high risk. We cannot leave its handling to chance. But it trusts me. If you take it away, it will panic. It might hurt itself. Your concern is noted, the Admiral said, but safety comes first. The call ended. Mira felt a tight knot form in her chest. Captain Ro placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Mira, You must prepare yourself. They will take the creature. She looked through the glass. The baby Draken had woken up and was pressing its head against the barrier, looking for her. Her eyes softened. I can't just let them take it away. It needs someone it trusts. Mira, I know it's strong. I know it can be dangerous. But everything alive deserves compassion, Captain. Rose sighed, unable to argue. Across the glass, the baby chirped for her again. And Mira knew one thing with absolute certainty. No matter what the Alliance decided, she would not abandon the little creature who had chosen her. Not now. Not ever. The Alliance station, Horizon Point, floated like a giant silver ring above a quiet blue planet. It was one of the most secure places in the region, home to scientists, diplomats, soldiers, and the most advanced research labs in the sector. Normally, Horizon Point felt peaceful. But today, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. The Aurora's Hope had just arrived with what many believed to be the most dangerous living creature discovered in decades. A newborn Drakon, and everyone in the station knew it. Docking crew, security teams, scientists, administrators. All of them whispered nervously as the ship slid into its dock. They whispered one name, too, Mira Lane, the human girl who had somehow earned the trust of the little Drakon. When the docking clamps locked into place, Mira stood near the containment chamber, her hand against the glass as the baby Drakon pressed its head gently to the other side. She whispered softly to it. We're going somewhere new, okay? I'll be with you. The baby chirped softly, sparks of harmless golden light flickering in its throat. It didn't understand what was happening, but Mira's voice calmed it. Captain Rowe tightened his gloves. Mira, please remember, do not stand too close when the scientists arrive. They may react strongly. I know, she said, but I won't let anyone scare him. Rowe sighed. Your courage is impressive and concerning. Mira smiled. The doors hissed open as security teams entered the docking bay, weapons holstered but ready. Behind them walked 3 Alliance representatives, a tall Avaric scientist with silver-blue skin, a short Ardenian with crystal-like eyes, and a stern-looking human admiral in a dark Navy uniform. Admiral Saren. Mira recognized his voice from the earlier call, and her stomach tightened. He carried authority like a force field around him. He stepped forward. Captain Rowe, you have done well bringing the specimen safely. The hatchling, Mira corrected quietly. Saren turned to her. Miss Lane, step back, please. We must assess the situation. Mira didn't move. Sir, she said firmly, he's scared. If you surround him suddenly, he might panic. Scientist Thalor, the Avarix, frowned. Miss Lane, this creature is capable of releasing heat waves strong enough to melt reinforced structures. It must be secured immediately. And it has not done anything harmful since hatching, Mira argued, because he trusts me. The scientists exchanged doubtful looks. Admiral Saren finally spoke again. The creature will be moved to a controlled environment. Your presence will not be needed. Mira felt a flash of anger. He needs me. That is not your decision, Saren replied. Inside the containment chamber, the baby Drakon sensed the rising tension. Its body glowed brighter, wings tightening against its sides. It chirped anxiously, looking for Mira. She stepped closer to the glass. It's okay. I'm right here. The glow dimmed. Admiral Saren watched with narrowed eyes. Interesting, he murmured. The Drakon is moved. The transfer team brought a large transparent container made of heat-resistant metal and thick energy shields. When they opened Mira's containment room door, the baby Drakon backed away nervously, its tail glowing hotter. The team paused. It senses danger, Yulan whispered. Mira raised her hand slowly. Let me guide him. Admiral Saren hesitated, then gave a reluctant nod. Mira walked into the chamber calmly. The Dracon rushed toward her, bumping its warm head against her legs and making a soft chirping sound. She knelt and placed a hand on its back. "We're just going to a new room," she whispered. "I'll stay close." The baby relaxed enough for the team to lower the transfer container. Mira gently guided the hatchling inside. When it stepped in, she allowed the door to close slowly. The baby chirped in confusion as the shield activated. Mira pressed her hand to the transparent wall. "I won't let anything happen to you." Only then did the Dracon settle down. Every scientist in the room watched silently, some amazed, some confused, some troubled. The debate begins. A few hours later, the hatchling was placed inside a special observation chamber inside Horizon Point's research wing. Mira stood outside the glass enclosure while the Alliance Council gathered around a large table. Admiral Saren, Scientist Thaylor, several other representatives, Captain Rowe, Yulon, and Mira were all present. Thaylor began. "We must consider the potential danger. Dracons are born with natural reactors inside their bodies. A small emotional spike could trigger a blast." Mira crossed her arms. "He hasn't hurt anyone." Saren replied, "He is a newborn. That may change." A thin Borari researcher spoke next. "We should perform controlled tests. Heat tolerance, energy output, behavior triggers." "No," Mira said quickly. "He's not an experiment. He's a baby." Several members frowned. "He is a biological weapon," the Borari said, "even at birth." Mira inhaled sharply but stayed surprisingly calm. "Look at him," she said, pointing to the screen showing the little Dracon resting on the floor, curled up like a sleeping puppy. "Does that look like a weapon to you?" "It may not look dangerous now," Thaler said, "but these creatures grow quickly. In weeks, it could be able to melt walls. In months, it could be unstoppable." "And that's why you're scared," Mira said. "You're afraid of something you don't understand." The room went still. Saren leaned forward. "Miss Lane, you are young, and your emotional attachment clouds—" "It's not attachment," Mira interrupted. "It's responsibility." Every eye turned to her. She continued, her voice steady. "You think the Dracon destroyed that Avarix ship, but what if it didn't? What if it was afraid? What if its environment was wrong? What if—" She looked at the screen again. "What if all it needed was someone who wasn't scared of it?" Captain Rowe nodded slowly. "Her argument has merit. The creature's behavior suggests social bonding. Its reduced heat levels near Mira indicate emotional control." Yulon added. "No readings show aggression. Only anxiety when separated from Mira." Thaylor looked troubled. "Even so, we cannot depend on a human intern to prevent potential catastrophe." Mira looked around. "Then let me stay with him. Train me. Teach me protocols. But don't treat him like a monster." Silence again. Everyone waited for Admiral Saren's response, the Council's decision. After several long minutes, Admiral Saren spoke. "Mira Lane." She stood straight. "You may remain as a temporary caretaker." Mira gasped. "Really?" The Admiral raised one finger. "But under strict supervision. There will be no unsupervised contact until we confirm stability." Mira nodded quickly. "I understand." "Second," Saren continued, "the Dracon will stay in a reinforced habitat with sensors monitoring every change." "Okay." "And third," Saren paused, "if at any time it shows uncontrolled power, we will intervene." Mira hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I'll keep him calm." Saren exhaled. "Very well. We begin testing tomorrow." The meeting ended. But Mira's heart felt heavy with worry. She knew the Alliance didn't trust the baby. She knew they saw danger before they saw life. She knew they would push boundaries. And she also knew something else. If the baby Dracon panicked during testing, Only she could stop it. Mira's first visit in the station. When she entered the observation chamber later that evening, the baby Draken ran toward the glass, chirping loudly. Sparks of gold flickered as it bumped the barrier, trying to reach her. Mira knelt and placed her hand against the glass. "I'm here. I'm not leaving." The baby calmed immediately, curling down on the floor and pressing its head where her hand rested. Mira smiled softly. "Tomorrow's going to be hard," she whispered, "but I'll stay with you. I promise." Behind her, Captain Rowe watched quietly. "You know," he said, "some people are already calling this the most unusual bond the Alliance has ever seen." Mira didn't look away from the baby. "It's not unusual," she said softly. "He just needed someone brave enough to stay close." Rowe nodded. "Perhaps humans are special that way." Mira looked up, her eyes thoughtful. "Maybe," she whispered. "But I think he's special too." And inside the enclosure, the baby Drakon breathed softly, warm and peaceful, because the one person he trusted in the entire galaxy hadn't abandoned him. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. The next morning on Horizon Point, everything felt strangely tense. The station's lights seemed dimmer, the hallways quieter, and the scientists more nervous than usual. Everyone knew today was important. Today, the Alliance would begin their first tests on the baby Draken. Mira hardly slept the night before. She spent most of the night sitting outside the observation window, whispering soft words to calm the baby whenever it stirred. The little creature had sensed her worry and chirped sadly at times. But eventually it fell asleep with its tail curled tightly around itself. Now, as dawn lights glowed through the station's skylights, Mira stood next to Captain Rowe and Engineer Yulan in the research control room. A large, transparent chamber stood in the center, a safe testing zone lined with sensors and cooling plates. Inside it, the baby Drakon sat quietly, watching Mira with big golden eyes. Mira whispered against the glass panel, "You'll be okay. I'm right here." The baby chirped once, softly, like a promise. Admiral Saren entered the room with 3 scientists behind him. His expression was serious, eyes sharp. "Today's tests will be simple," Saren announced. "We need to understand the creature's emotional triggers and energy levels." Mira frowned. "Please, be gentle." Scientist Thalor answered, "We will not harm it, but we must see how it reacts to new situations." Mira didn't like the sound of that, but she had no choice. She nodded slowly. Test 1. Separation stress. The first test began with a simple instruction. "Mira, step out of sight for 1 minute." She hesitated but followed the rule. The moment she walked behind the wall panel, the baby Drakon lifted its head nervously. It chirped once, then again, louder. Its small body glowed brighter as panic rose. Sensors beeped. "Thermal output increasing," Yulan reported. "Heart rate spike." Mira peeked from behind the wall. "I'm here." The baby spotted her and immediately calmed. The glow weakened. Its tail relaxed again. Scientist Thaler stared. "Incredible. It stabilizes only when she is visible." Admiral Saren said nothing, but his expression tightened. He could see the truth clearly. The human girl was the only one who could control the baby's power. Test 2. External noise. For the second test, the room's speakers played loud mechanical sounds, metal clanks, alarms, and static hums. The hatchling flinched at the noise. Its body began to heat rapidly, tiny sparks forming under its scales. Its wings spread out in fear. Mira quickly placed her hands on the glass. "It's okay. Just noises. You're safe." The baby pressed its head against the glass, trembling, but her voice calmed it again. The sparks vanished. Saren folded his arms. "Every reaction depends on her. This is unusual or special," Mira answered softly. Test 3. Object interaction. The third test involved placing different objects in the chamber: metal spheres, glowing mineral crystals, and soft heat-resistant pads. The idea was to see if the baby would react violently, or if it could be playful like Earth animals. At first, the baby was cautious. It sniffed each item, chirping quietly. Then it nudged one of the soft pads with its snout. The pad rolled slightly. The baby blinked, then nudged it again and again. Mira smiled brightly. "He's playing!" The baby Dracon suddenly gave a cheerful chirp and tossed the pad into the air with its nose, catching it awkwardly with its claws. It let out a tiny, happy rumble. Yulan recorded the data, stunned. "It's acting like a normal infant creature." Saren's stern face softened just slightly. "It shows signs of social behavior. Unexpected." Mira whispered proudly, "See? He's not a monster." The attack begins. The tests had almost finished when every light in the research wing suddenly flickered. Then, boom! A powerful explosion shook the entire station. Blue warning alarms flashed instantly. "Intruder alert. Reactor wing breached. All personnel evacuate non-secure areas." Admiral Saren's eyes widened. "Security report!" Static filled the comm system. Then a voice shouted, "Admiral, a rogue group, unknown technology, forcing entry into research sectors." Another explosion echoed through the metal walls. Captain Rowe turned to Mira. "Stay behind us!" But Mira's eyes darted to the baby Dracon. Inside the chamber, the young creature was shaking violently from fear. Its body glowed dangerously bright. "Mira!" Yulan warned. "Its temperature is rising far above normal." The baby sensed the danger, sensed Mira's fear, sensed the violent vibrations of the explosions. Its scales brightened to molten gold. Mira pressed both hands to the glass. "Hey, look at me, it's okay." But this time, the baby couldn't calm easily. Its instincts took over. It spread its wings wide, the glow turning so bright it illuminated the entire room. Saren shouted, "Get to safety! If it releases energy, the chamber won't hold." "No!" Mira yelled. "He needs me!" She ran to the chamber door, but Saren blocked her. "Miss Lane, you can't! Without me, he'll lose control!" she argued desperately. Another explosion hit the hallway outside. Mira didn't wait. She shoved past Saren and slammed her hand on the override panel. "Mira, stop!" Rowe shouted, but the door opened. The heat blasted outward like a furnace, but Mira stepped inside. The baby backed into the corner, eyes wild with fear. "Mira, careful!" Yulan cried from outside. Heat shimmered around her, but the baby recognized her scent, her voice, her presence. Slowly, its glow dimmed enough that she could approach. She knelt, breathing the hot air. "I'm here. You're not alone." The baby whimpered and stumbled into her arms, shaking like a scared child. Mira hugged it gently despite the heat. "It's okay." Outside the chamber, Saren stared in disbelief. "She can stabilize him even now?" But there was no time to watch. Armed intruders burst into the hallway. Rowe shouted, "Down!" Laser fire sprayed across the corridor. Station guards returned fire, using crates as shields. The intruders wore dark suits, their helmets glowing red. They aimed straight for the containment chamber. "They want the Dracon," Saren realized. The baby sensed the danger and growled, sparks forming under its wings. Mira held it tighter. "No, stay with me. Calm." An intruder fired a heavy blast cannon at the chamber door. Crack! The blast dented the metal frame. "Mira, get out of there!" Rowe yelled. Another blast hit the door, breaking through the lock. The door slid open. An intruder stepped forward, raising his weapon. Mira shielded the baby with her body, but before the intruder could fire, the little Dracon exploded with blinding light. Not an attack, a shield. Wings of pure plasma burst outward like glowing fire feathers, forming a barrier around Mira and blocking the blast. The intruder's weapon overheated instantly and malfunctioned. The attackers stumbled back, stunned. "What? What is that?" one of them shouted. The baby growled again, its eyes burning with golden fire. Not in anger, but in desperate fear for the only person it trusted. The plasma wings grew brighter. Too bright. Too unstable. "Mira!" Yulan screamed. "Its energy output is critical," Saren yelled. "If it releases that much power, the entire wing will collapse." Mira felt the heat rising. She hugged the baby tighter, whispering urgently, "Listen to me. You're safe. I'm safe. You don't need to protect me like this." The baby trembled. The light flickered. Mira pressed her forehead to its warm scales. "I'm here. I trust you." Slowly, slowly. The glowing wings faded. The heat calmed. The chamber cooled slightly. The baby sagged in her arms, weak and exhausted. Outside, the intruders regrouped. One shouted, "She's controlling it! Grab the human!" But before they could rush forward, Alliance security reinforcements arrived, overwhelming the rogue group with precision fire. The invaders were captured one by one, dragged away in restraints. Silence filled the hallway. Smoke drifted upward from burnt panels. The lights flickered weakly. Mira sat on the floor, holding the tired Dracon in her arms. The little creature breathed softly, eyes half closed. Saren approached slowly. For the first time, he looked less like a strict commander and more like someone witnessing something unbelievable. He kneeled beside Mira. "You saved all of us. And so did he." Mira stroked the baby's head. "He wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He just wanted to protect me." Ro nodded. "The intruders nearly caused a disaster, but the hatchling controlled his power when you asked." Saren's voice was quiet, almost respectful. A creature strong enough to destroy this entire wing chose to defend rather than attack. That alone changes everything. Mira smiled tiredly. "He's not a weapon. He's a child." The baby chirped softly, pressing its glowing head into her chest. And Admiral Saren, the strictest man in the Alliance, finally said, "Maybe it's time we treat him like one." For hours after the attack, alarms echoed through the station. Security teams searched every hallway, sealed damaged areas, and moved injured personnel to medical bays. Smoke drifted through the broken sections of the research wing. Engineers rushed to repair shattered panels, melted doors, and overheated circuits. But in the middle of all that chaos, a quiet moment existed. Mira sat in a recovery room, holding the exhausted baby Dracon close to her chest. Its scales glowed faintly, and its breathing was slow but steady. Despite the danger and fear from earlier, the little creature felt safe now. Mira's presence was all it needed to rest. Captain Ro stood guard beside the door. Yulan repaired burnt parts of her mechanical arms while checking data on her tablet. Admiral Saren waited outside, speaking in low tones with his officers. Everyone seemed shaken by the attack, but even more shaken by what they had witnessed inside the testing chamber. A newborn Dracon had unleashed power strong enough to vaporize a squad of intruders. Yet it stopped the moment Mira asked it to. That was something no scientist, no soldier, no diplomat could ignore. A meeting that would shape the future. Later that day, the Alliance Council gathered in the largest conference hall of Horizon Point. The air was thick with tension. Representatives from different species filled the room: Avarix, Ardenian, Borari, Loravan, and humans. At the front stood Admiral Saren, Captain Ro, Yulan, and Mira. The baby Dracon rested in a soft, heat-resistant cradle beside Mira. It watched the room with sleepy golden eyes, tail curled around itself. It was still tired from using so much power earlier, but it stayed alert whenever someone spoke too loudly. Whispers spread across the hall. "That's the Dracon?" "It's smaller than I expected." "And harmless, as long as the human is here?" Mira gently stroked the baby's head. It chirped softly, comforted. Saren raised his hand, and the room fell silent. "We are here," he said. to decide how the alliance will move forward. The Draken hatchling is alive, powerful, and emotionally linked to this human girl. Scientist Thalor added, "The attack earlier proves that many groups will try to claim the creature. If we mishandle this, we could start a war." An Ardenian diplomat leaned forward. "We must ensure it grows safely. Drakons are said to reach enormous power levels." Another voice asked, "Will it remain peaceful?" A third asked, "Can a human really control something like that?" Mira felt nervous, but she lifted her chin and spoke clearly. "I'm not controlling anything. I'm helping him feel safe." The room quieted. She touched the baby gently. "He only loses control when he's scared. If we raise him with kindness, he won't be dangerous. He'll be family." Some representatives exchanged doubtful looks, but others nodded slowly. Understanding the bond, Yulan activated a hollow screen showing the recorded footage of the crisis. The room watched in stunned silence as the baby Draken's plasma wings lit the chamber, blocking enemy fire, shielding Mira, and then fading the moment she told it to calm down. Even Admiral Saren, who rarely displayed emotion, looked impressed. "This creature," Saren said, "chose to protect rather than destroy, and it did so for one reason." He looked at Mira. "Because Miss Lane was there." A quiet murmur spread around the conference hall. Scientist Thaler spoke thoughtfully. "We may need to accept that the Drakion has imprinted in a way far deeper than we know. Its instincts are tied to Mira's emotional state. When she is calm, it is calm. When she is afraid, it becomes unstable." Mira glanced down at the baby. It was already watching her, as if it knew it was being discussed. She smiled softly. "I don't think he wants to hurt anyone. He just wants someone to trust." Captain Rowe nodded. "Mira is correct. The creature shows high intelligence. It understands comfort, fear, danger, and safety." Yulan added, "And it responds only to Mira. Without her, the station would have suffered catastrophic damage today." The council members whispered again. Finally, an Avarix elder stood. "Perhaps," she said, "this is not a weakness, but a sign. Humans have always been unpredictable, reckless at times, brave at others. Their emotions are strong, their instincts even stronger." She looked at Mira with thoughtful eyes. "Maybe a creature born from fire and danger needs someone who does not fear the flame." Mira blushed a little. The baby Draken chirped proudly as if agreeing. The decision Admiral Saren stepped forward again. "After discussion with the council, we have reached a decision." Mira held her breath. "The Draken hatchling," Saren continued, "will not be destroyed. It will not be experimented on cruelly. It will not be used as a weapon." Mira's chest loosened in relief. Saren went on. "Instead, it will become part of a new alliance program, one focused on peaceful cooperation with rare species." Several diplomats nodded in agreement. "But," Saren added, turning toward Mira, "only under one condition." Mira straightened. "What condition?" "You," Saren said firmly, "will be its official caretaker." The room filled with gasps. Mira's eyes widened. "Me? But I'm just an intern." "Not anymore," Rose said with a small smile. "You have done what no one else could." Yulan nodded. "You earned this," Saren continued. "You will be given special training, protection, and status. The hatchling will stay with you. Its growth will be supervised, but not isolated. You will teach it compassion and control." Mira looked at the baby. It blinked up at her with pure trust. She swallowed hard, then nodded. "I accept." The baby chirped happily, glowing brighter. Then something unexpected happened. It opened its wings and pressed its forehead gently against Mira's arm. The entire council fell silent. In Drakon culture, even though little was known, this was believed to be a rare sign of permanent bond. A bond for life, a bond of loyalty, a new beginning. In the following days, Horizon Point changed. Instead of fear, curiosity filled the hallways. Instead of whispering in panic, people watched the baby Draken with wonder. Mira walked through the corridors with the little creature walking beside her, its steps soft and warm. Whenever someone approached too quickly, it would hide behind Mira's legs. Whenever Mira laughed, it chirped excitedly. Scientists collected gentle readings without frightening it. Diplomats observed the interactions. Children of station workers drew pictures of the dragon baby with bright crayons on digital tablets. Everyone had their own reaction. Some saw hope, some saw danger, some saw the future. But one thing was clear. The galaxy had never seen anything like this. The symbol of a new age. A week later, Admiral Saren called Mira to a balcony that overlooked the stars. The baby Drakon perched on the railing, staring at the glowing horizon. Saren stood quietly, hands behind his back. "Mira Lane," he said, "you changed more than you realize." Mira looked up at him, confused. "I didn't do anything big. I just cared." "That," Saren replied, "is what changed everything." He nodded at the baby Drakon. "This creature, feared for centuries, has found peace with a human. Other species have always believed humans were reckless, emotional, and unpredictable. But today," he paused thoughtfully, "they learned humans can also feel empathy stronger than fear." Mira glanced at her companion. "I didn't think about fear. I just saw a scared baby." Saren smiled faintly. "Exactly." The Draken looked between the two of them, wings twitching in the light breeze of the station's air systems. Saren continued, "Rumors are already spreading. Across the Alliance, people are talking about the courage of a young human girl who reached out when everyone else stepped back." Mira flushed quietly. "I wasn't brave. I just didn't want him to be alone." "That," Saren answered, "is the heart of bravery." He turned to leave, but added, "Prepare yourself, Mira Lane. You and this hatchling will change the galaxy." A future written in fire and light. That night, Mira sat in her new room, now much larger and filled with soft mats, heat-resistant toys, and glowing lights for the baby Draken. The little creature curled up beside her bed, its warm body gently radiating golden light. Mira stroked its back. "You and me," she whispered. "We're going to do big things." The baby chirped, curling its tail around her foot. Outside the window, stars shimmered like sparks from a great fire. Mira felt something deep inside, a sense of destiny, a feeling that this was just the beginning. In the quiet of the night, the universe seemed to whisper, "When the galaxy trembles, humanity steps forward." And at the center of that truth sat a human girl, and the deadliest alien dragon baby who chose her above all.